There's a moment in every soul's journey when the familiar world begins to dissolve around you like morning mist. Not in a dramatic collapse that sends your life spiraling into chaos, but in a subtle, almost imperceptible way that leaves you feeling like a stranger in your own existence. You wake up one morning and the coffee tastes different. The conversations with your closest friends feel like they're happening through glass. The job that once gave you purpose now feels like wearing clothes that no longer fit your body. This isn't depression, though your mind might try to label it as such. This isn't a quarter-life or midlife crisis, though the timing might coincide. This is something far more profound and infinitely more sacred. You are standing at the threshold of the final stage before everything in your reality shifts into something you've been unconsciously preparing for your entire life. In the hidden chambers of your being, something ancient and wise has awakened. It's been dormant for years, perhaps decades, waiting for this precise moment when your soul would be ready to release its grip on the identity you've been wearing like an old coat. The mystics of old would have called this the dark night of the soul, but that phrase carries with it connotations of suffering that miss the profound beauty of what's actually occurring within you. This isn't darkness in the sense of absence of light. This is the fertile darkness of the womb, the rich soil of creation, where new life takes root in the invisible realms before it breaks through into the visible world. What you're experiencing right now, this sense of disconnection from everything that once defined you, is not a sign that something is wrong with your life. It's the clearest possible indication that something magnificent is preparing to emerge through you. The universe has been orchestrating this moment with the precision of a master conductor, arranging circumstances, relationships, and experiences to bring you to this exact point where transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Every disappointment, every loss, every moment of confusion that led you here has been a perfectly placed stepping stone on the path to this threshold you now stand upon. The ancient teachers understood this phenomenon in ways our modern world has forgotten. They knew that before a snake can grow larger, it must shed its skin. Before a butterfly can emerge in all its glory, the caterpillar must dissolve into a formless soup inside the cocoon. Before a phoenix can rise, it must first be consumed by flames. And before you can step into the fullness of who you're meant to become, everything that is not truly you must fall away. This falling away doesn't happen through force or struggle. It happens through a profound inner knowing that whispers to your deepest self that it's time to let go, time to trust, time to allow the old version of yourself to gracefully bow out so the new one can take the stage. Right now, you might be feeling an emptiness that's unlike anything you've experienced before. It's not the emptiness of lack or the void of depression. It's the sacred emptiness of potential, the pregnant pause before creation speaks its word into existence. This emptiness is calling you to stop trying to fill it with the old solutions, the old distractions, the old ways of being that no longer serve the person you're becoming. Your soul is creating space within you for something greater than your conscious mind can currently comprehend. This is why your regular coping mechanisms aren't working anymore. The activities that used to bring you joy feel flat. The people who used to energize you seem to drain you instead. The dreams you once chased with passion feel like they belong to someone else entirely. Your inner wisdom is systematically removing everything that would prevent you from receiving the gifts that are preparing to flood into your life. It's like clearing out an old house before the renovation begins. Every item that gets removed, every wall that comes down, every familiar comfort that gets packed away is making room for something beautiful beyond your current imagination. The loneliness you might be feeling isn't because you're alone in the world. It's because you're in the process of becoming someone who will attract entirely different relationships, opportunities, and experiences into your reality. The version of you that's emerging cannot be supported by the same people, places, and patterns that sustained the old version. This isn't a judgment on your past or the people in it. It's simply recognition that you're evolving beyond the frequency of your former life, and everything must adjust to match where you're going, not where you've been. If you've been following this journey with me, feeling these words resonate in the deepest part of your being, I want you to know something. You didn't find this message by accident. In a world of infinite content and endless distractions, your soul guided you here because you're ready to hear what most people aren't prepared to understand. You're part of a small but growing community of individuals who are awakening to the truth of their own transformation. If this is speaking to you, if you're nodding your head as you listen, take a moment right now to join our family by subscribing to this channel. But more than that, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what phase of this transformation you're experiencing right now. Are you in the emptiness? Are you feeling the dissolution? Are you sensing the stirring of something new? Your story matters, and sharing it helps other souls who are walking this same sacred path to feel less alone in their journey. The beautiful truth about this stage of your evolution is that it's temporary, but its effects are permanent. You're not meant to live in the emptiness forever. You're meant to move through it like a traveler passing through a tunnel, emerging on the other side into a landscape more beautiful than anything you could have imagined when you entered the darkness. But while you're in this sacred passage, your only job is to trust the process and resist the temptation to rush back to the familiar just because the unknown feels uncomfortable. What's happening to you right now operates on frequencies that most people never become conscious of in their entire lifetime. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every choice you make broadcasts a signal into the invisible field that surrounds and permeates all of reality. For most of your life, you've been broadcasting from a frequency that attracted certain types of experiences, relationships, and circumstances. But something fundamental has shifted in your inner broadcasting system, and now you're transmitting on a completely different wavelength. This shift in frequency is why familiar situations feel strange now. It's why conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel forced and artificial. It's why places you once loved to spend time now feel energetically heavy or simply uninteresting. You haven't changed in the superficial ways that the world usually recognizes change. You haven't altered your appearance dramatically or made radical external modifications to your lifestyle. The change is happening at the level of your essential vibration, and that change is creating a ripple effect that touches every aspect of your existence. Imagine tuning a radio to a new station. At first, you might pick up interference from the old station mixed with signals from the new one. The sound is unclear, sometimes frustrating, as both frequencies compete for dominance. But gradually, the new signal becomes stronger and clearer while the old one fades into silence. This is exactly what's happening in your life right now. Your soul has tuned itself to a higher frequency, and everything around you is adjusting to match this new signal. Some things in your life will upgrade to meet you at this new level. Others will simply fade away because they cannot sustain themselves at the frequency you now embody. The relationships that survive this transition will deepen in ways you never thought possible. The work that remains relevant to your new frequency will become a source of profound fulfillment rather than mere obligation. The opportunities that present themselves will feel like they were designed specifically for the person you're becoming, rather than the person you used to be. This is not coincidence or wishful thinking. This is the natural law of attraction operating at its most fundamental level, drawing to you everything that matches the vibration you're now broadcasting into the world. During this frequency adjustment period, you might experience what feels like emotional turbulence. One moment you feel excited and optimistic about the future, certain that something wonderful is about to unfold. The next moment, doubt creeps in and whispers that maybe you're fooling yourself, that maybe nothing is really changing at all. These oscillations between hope and uncertainty are not signs that you're unstable or confused. They're the natural result of existing temporarily in two different vibrational states simultaneously, while your system recalibrates to its new baseline. Deep within the architecture of your consciousness, a profound reorganization is taking place. The beliefs that once formed the foundation of your identity are being examined, questioned, and either reinforced or released based on whether they serve the person you're becoming. The memories that shaped your understanding of yourself and your capabilities are being recontextualized in light of your expanding awareness. The dreams that once seemed impossible are being measured against the new possibilities that are opening up within your upgraded frequency. This inner reorganization often manifests as periods of confusion or uncertainty about who you are and what you want from life. Questions you thought you had answered years ago suddenly resurface with new urgency. Decisions that once felt permanent now feel temporary and revisable. This isn't a sign that you're moving backward or losing progress in your personal development. It's evidence that your consciousness is sophisticated enough to recognize that you've outgrown certain aspects of your former self and is courageously willing to release them in favor of something more authentic and aligned. The process can feel unsettling because human beings are creatures of continuity. We like to maintain a consistent sense of self over time, to feel that who we are today is recognizably connected to who we were yesterday. But there are moments in the evolution of consciousness when continuity must be sacrificed for growth, when the butterfly must release its attachment to being a caterpillar in order to fulfill its greater destiny. You are living through one of these moments right now, and the discomfort you feel is the growing pains of your soul expanding beyond the boundaries of your previous self-concept. As Dr. Joe Dispenza has extensively researched and documented, when we break free from the patterns of our past and begin to create from the field of infinite possibilities rather than from the memories of our limitations, our brain literally rewires itself to support this new way of being. The neural pathways that once automatically fired in response to certain triggers begin to weaken and fade, while new pathways form to support thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that are aligned with your emerging identity. This neuroplasticity is not just a scientific curiosity, it's the biological mechanism through which transformation occurs at the most fundamental level of your being. Before we continue this journey together, I want to pause and acknowledge something beautiful that's happening right here, right now. You've stayed with me through these deep waters, through concepts and truths that challenge conventional thinking about how life works and how change occurs. That tells me something profound about your soul's readiness for what's coming next in your life. You're not here by accident, and you're not just a passive observer of this information. You're an active participant in your own transformation, and that courage to look honestly at the process of change deserves recognition. If these words are touching something true inside you, if you feel understood in a way that's rare in our superficial world, I invite you to become part of our community by subscribing to this channel and sharing your experience in the comments below. What old patterns are you feeling called to release? What new version of yourself is trying to emerge? Your journey is unique, but you don't have to walk it alone. There are others here who understand the sacred nature of what you're going through, and together we can support each other through this beautiful and sometimes challenging process of becoming who we're truly meant to be. One of the most profound shifts that occurs during this final stage before everything changes is the gradual dissolution of resistance within your system. For most of your life, you've been pushing against certain aspects of reality, struggling to make things happen through force of will, effort, and determination. You've been taught that success requires struggle, that growth demands discomfort, that anything worth having must be fought for and earned through hardship. But as you evolve into this new frequency, you begin to discover a completely different way of engaging with life. Resistance is what happens when your desires and expectations conflict with what reality is offering in any given moment. It's the tension between wanting things to be different than they are and the frustration that arises when your efforts to control outcomes don't produce the results you're seeking. But in this new phase of your existence, you're beginning to understand that resistance isn't just ineffective, it's actually counterproductive to the process of creation. The universe responds not to your effort, but to your alignment, not to your struggle, but to your surrender to the natural flow of life. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on your dreams and aspirations. It means learning to work with the intelligence of life rather than against it, to trust that the same force that grows trees and orchestrates the movement of planets is also capable of organizing the circumstances of your existence in ways that serve your highest good. As you release your need to control every detail of how your transformation unfolds, you create space for miracles to occur in ways that your limited human perspective could never have anticipated or arranged. The dissolution of resistance is often accompanied by a profound sense of relief, as if you've been carrying a heavy burden for years and suddenly realized you could set it down. The chronic tension in your shoulders begins to ease. The anxiety that used to wake you up at 4 in the morning starts to fade. The urgency that used to drive you to constantly do, achieve, and prove yourself transforms into a deep trust that everything you need is already on its way to you, drawn by the magnetic power of your authentic being rather than the desperate energy of your effortful striving. This shift from resistance to flow often triggers what appears to be external chaos as your life rearranges itself to match your new internal state. Situations that were held in place by your resistance suddenly resolve themselves in unexpected ways. Relationships that were sustained by your need to fix or change other people either transform into healthier dynamics or naturally complete their purpose in your life. Opportunities that were blocked by your attachment to specific outcomes suddenly appear when you release your grip on how things must unfold. As the old structures of your identity dissolve and the resistance patterns fade, something beautiful begins to emerge from the depths of your being. It's not the kind of power the world usually recognizes, the power that comes from domination, control, or external achievement. This is authentic power, the power that arises when you are fully aligned with your true nature and operating from the deepest truth of who you are. It's quiet, unshakable, and incredibly magnetic. Authentic power doesn't announce itself with fanfare or demand recognition from others. It simply is. When you embody authentic power, you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone because you know your worth comes from source, not from external validation. You no longer feel the need to compete with others because you understand that there is no competition in a universe of infinite abundance. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to force outcomes because you trust that what belongs to you will find you without struggle or strain. This emergence of authentic power often surprises people because it doesn't feel dramatic or overwhelming. Instead, it feels natural, like coming home to yourself after a long journey in foreign lands. You begin to make decisions from a place of inner knowing rather than external pressure. You speak your truth with gentleness, but without apology. You set boundaries not from anger or resentment, but from love and respect for yourself and others. You pursue your dreams not from desperation or ego, but from joy and authentic inspiration. The world responds to authentic power in ways that can seem almost magical. People are drawn to you without understanding why. Opportunities present themselves with perfect timing. Resources appear exactly when you need them. This isn't because you've learned to manipulate reality through spiritual techniques or positive thinking. It's because you've removed the barriers within yourself that were blocking the natural flow of good that the universe is always attempting to bring into your life. As you embody more authentic power, you also become a beacon for others who are going through their own transformation process. Your very presence gives them permission to shed their own masks and pretenses. Your example shows them that it's safe to be real, to be vulnerable, to be authentically themselves in a world that often rewards conformity and superficiality. You become a living demonstration that transformation is possible, that people can change, that life can be beautiful, even when it doesn't look like what society says success should look like. The final stage, before everything changes, culminates in what spiritual traditions have always called integration. This is where all the pieces of your transformation begin to weave themselves into a coherent new reality. The emptiness that once felt so uncomfortable begins to fill with new insights, inspirations, and possibilities. The frequency shift that initially created chaos in your external circumstances starts to manifest as upgraded opportunities and relationships. The inner reorganization that dismantled your old identity completes itself with the emergence of a more authentic, powerful, and aligned version of yourself. Integration doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen through effort or force. It happens through presence, through staying conscious and aware as the new you learns to navigate the world. Every choice you make during this integration phase either reinforces your new identity or pulls you back toward old patterns. Every thought you think either strengthens your new frequency or dilutes it with static from the past. Every emotion you feel either supports your transformation or creates resistance to it. This is why consciousness is so crucial during the integration phase. You can't sleepwalk through this process and expect it to complete itself automatically. You must stay awake, stay present, stay committed to the person you're becoming, rather than defaulting to the person you used to be when life presents you with familiar triggers and challenges. The old version of yourself doesn't disappear completely. It simply becomes a less dominant aspect of your personality, available when needed, but no longer running the show. The integration phase is also when you begin to see concrete evidence that your transformation is real and permanent. The job opportunity that aligns perfectly with your new values appears seemingly out of nowhere. The relationship that reflects your upgraded standards enters your life with natural ease. The living situation that supports your new lifestyle becomes available exactly when you need it. The financial resources that enable your next level of growth flow to you through unexpected channels. But perhaps the most profound evidence of successful integration is internal rather than external. You find yourself responding to stress with calm centeredness rather than reactive anxiety. You discover that criticism from others bounces off you like water off a duck's back because you know who you are and don't need external validation to confirm it. You realize that the fears that once paralyzed you have simply evaporated, not because you conquered them through battle, but because you evolved beyond the frequency at which they could exist within you. As Neville Goddard taught through his profound understanding of consciousness and creation, when we change our inner conversations and align our internal state with our desired reality, the external world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match our new inner condition. The integration phase is where this principle becomes lived experience rather than theoretical knowledge, where you witness firsthand the power of consciousness to reshape the material world through the simple act of consistent inner alignment. The moment arrives, usually more quietly than you expected, when you realize that the transformation is complete. You're no longer becoming someone new, you simply are someone new. The person looking back at you from the mirror has the same face, but entirely different eyes. The voice speaking your words has the same sound, but entirely different energy behind it. The life you're living has many of the same elements, but exists in an entirely different reality. This completion doesn't mean you stop growing or evolving. It means you've successfully navigated the death and rebirth process that marks the transition from one level of consciousness to another. You've shed the skin of your former self so completely that it's difficult to remember why you once found those old patterns and limitations so compelling. You've emerged from the cocoon of transformation, not just changed, but utterly renewed, carrying within yourself capacities and possibilities that didn't exist when you first entered this process. Living in the new reality means making choices from abundance rather than scarcity, from love rather than fear, from trust rather than control. It means recognizing that challenges still arise, but your relationship to them has fundamentally shifted. Where once you might have seen problems, you now see opportunities for growth. Where once you might have felt victimized by circumstances, you now feel empowered to create solutions. Where once you might have sought validation from others, you now find validation from the unshakable knowing of your own worth and purpose. The ripple effects of your transformation extend far beyond your personal life. Your family relationships heal in ways you never thought possible as you show up from authentic love rather than unconscious programming. Your professional life becomes an expression of your gifts rather than a means of survival. Your contribution to the world flows naturally from the overflow of your inner fullness rather than from guilt, obligation, or the need to prove your value. Perhaps most beautifully, you become a living invitation for others to undertake their own transformation journey, not through preaching or trying to convince anyone of anything, but simply through being authentically yourself in a world where authenticity is rare and precious. Your example gives others permission to question their own limitations, to explore their own possibilities, to trust their own inner wisdom, even when it leads them away from conventional expectations. The final stage before everything changes is ending for you, but that doesn't mean the journey is over. It means you've graduated to a new level of the journey, one where you get to explore what it means to live as a fully awakened, integrated, powerful being in a world that desperately needs more people who have remembered who they truly are. You get to discover what miracles are possible when someone operates from their authentic power rather than their wounded patterns. You get to experience what life feels like when it's lived from the inside out rather than the outside in. As we close this exploration together, I want to leave you with this truth that has sustained mystics, sages, and awakened beings throughout history. You are not an accident in this universe. You are not here by mistake or coincidence. You are here because consciousness itself is evolving, and your transformation is part of that great evolutionary wave. The challenges you've faced, the growth you've experienced, the person you're becoming, all of it serves a purpose greater than your individual life, while simultaneously fulfilling the deepest desires of your individual soul. The final stage is ending. Everything is about to change, and you are ready.